Test, test. Pozdrav svima. Hello everybody. I will switch to English right away because of our guests here. So sorry for a little delay. My name is Tomislav Plesec. I work in regional coordinator of Sisak-Moslavina County, for you who don't know me. Thank you all for coming here today for this meetup. What we will be talking about today is, of course, game development. That's all about why are we here, why we have this incubator here. And I would like to especially thank our guests, Stanislav and Ole. These two guys have a lot of experience and knowledge from game dev industry, so they're here for you. They're here to help you, to listen to your ideas, to listen to your projects, and to give you feedback, and maybe to give you something more. I will not bother you long with my talk, because you're not here to see me, obviously. I will just give a couple of details about the project this meetup is organized in. So we had some already some small activities regarding our AI and gaming European Digital Innovation Hub. So this project, I will not be telling you about its goals, about technical details. All it's about, and that is the most important part, is that this is the project about digitalization. And also this is the project where we will have some activities for game development. And here are some of them which are here for you. Interesting thing, I'm speaking in English and the presentation is Croatia. I had a flu, so forgive me about that. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you, here you can see a little overview what we prepared through this project. Also, there will be always something going on about that here in the incubator. Last week, some of you were here. There was this event where we had 20 plus representatives of public sector. This project is also for them. And the good thing is that they came here with some ideas about digitalization, about their new digital services. They had ideas, they have needs. Also, they have money at their disposal, because there will be some calls for EU funds through which they can finance all those ideas. But on the other side, they will also need somebody who will be there to help them to achieve those new services. So somebody who will provide them some services for digitalization. That's where you step in. That's where you all can help them and, of course, have some business. So also through this project we will help you to connect with public sector and with other small and medium companies that need some digitalization services that you can help them with. Also, these activities are for you, so you can upskill, you can have some new knowledge, and maybe to I don't know, to implement some new AI or XR solutions to your video games. Also, one final thing which I wanted to mention is that we will be starting with our educations at the end of this month, educations in the field of game development. Andre is standing over there. I know that you have already met him. He's our new educator here. And this is the list of topics that you helped me through that survey, that you helped me to choose. So this is what it looks like now. We have some initial timetable for the first 5 of them. Every month there will be one of them. This is just a week in which this education will be, and then we will set the date more precisely later. I will give you more information about this in the following days. Of course, this is not the exhaustive list. If there will be any need for something additional to this, we will also organize. So this is Meetup for Game Development. I will stop here and I will invite Ole here to start with his presentation. He will tell you something about how to run your game dev startup, and later Stanislav will tell you a little bit how to finance it. So good luck to everybody, good luck to guys and girls who will be pitching later, I wish you all the best, and I hope that you will all be very successful. Thank you. Here.
Thank you. Okay, so the slides are there. I don't see them here, meaning I will be talking to you like this from time to time, but it's fine. My profile is also fine. So let's put it like this. The structure will be that I will talk shortly about myself so you know what questions you can ask me. Then I will figure out who you are. And then we'll do a short therapy session so you actually know who you are. You will discover new things about your own team members. And I see that people are grouped around teams. So you will discover new things about yourself and your team members today. And you'll get homework to actually to talk to the rest of the team members to figure out that, oh, actually we are all on different pages as a team, not on the same page. So that will be a homework. Now, who I am. So, and I will explain why this text on the bottom a bit later on. So my career in games started in 2009. There was a small hut in a suburb of Copenhagen. We lived there, we worked there, and it was a small startup called Unity. We were doing a game engine for Mac and iPhone at that point, and that's the Unity that many of you love and hate these days. And I was one of the people who actually facilitated the industry adoption of that game engine. Then I worked for King in Stockholm, so that's Activision Blizzard, and they also had game engine aspirations, and I was also responsible for helping the industry to adopt that game engine. But then Activision Blizzard were like, you know what, let's just make Candy Crush, and that's it. So throughout this whole career, industry adoption, what this means, that I was helping indie teams to use this technology to make games and to be successful with their games. And that's ended up with Game Dev Camp, since that's the way, where I'm using all my industry experience and connections and everything, so that young teams get successful. So if you want to type gamedev.camp in the browser, you will see what it is. So that's about me. So you can talk to me about how to be successful as an indie team. And what I'm going to talk today about is mostly about this experience of all these indie teams who I have met in my life and who got successful or not, who got in fights, and who got problems. Cool. Now about you. Who of you think that you're working on a game startup? Startup? So the rest, are you a game studio? Game studio? So a startup or a studio, right? Because a game studio, you're making a game, that's a game business. It can be even a hobby business. So for example, you can have your main income, I know, working as a barista and making this game that I know does some money, but you're funding your game from other activities. And this game is almost like a hobby. So are you a game studio? Are you a hobby studio? What are you doing? And so how it usually starts? So you have a game idea. You get a team of people. They're usually happy, excited, hey, game idea, let's do stuff. So you get an artist, you get a game designer, you get a programmer, a 3D artist sometime, and yeah, everybody is happy, everybody yeah, let's do it. And then the team is dead. Why? What happened? Well, expectation, it should be a magic wand that is not rendered. You start, and then you finish, and then you make money, and then yes, everything is good. That's not how it works. The reality is different, and usually the problem is not that somebody is wrong, that the industry is bad, I don't know, that your game didn't get noticed on the App Store or on Steam or anywhere. It's just the initial kick, the initial push where you wanted to start the game, and the process, it just got messed up. And I mean, obviously you can blame like everybody, but like usually the blame is on you, on your team, that you get like different things. You use same words but have different things in mind. So let's do the small exercise that I advertised. Can you point your phones on this QR code and just complete it? It's quite short. It's quite short. Just for the fun of it. I will not disturb you with anything, and like good, good. I'll give like a bit of a few more seconds for people to finish, and I will interact with you about it. So let's get back to it. So the first question. Who picked game startup? Can you explain why are you a startup and not anything else?
I think it's a startup because we don't have a recognized good game yet, so I wouldn't call it a studio. And also, formally, it's just me that's actually employed in the company. So when it becomes not a bunch of people scattered in their own companies and actually a company with structure and people in it as employees, then I will call it a studio. But right now, I think it's a startup.
Right. So it's anybody has different opinion. Anybody has different opinion. I'm gonna pick on Stanislav now. So like you do angel investing, and do you invest in game studios or game startups, and how do you distinguish that?
So when looking or like when angel investing, it's probably investing into gaming startups which have the vision of a game studio in mind. Because one thing is that, okay, of course, everybody is starting from scratch, right? Unless you have exited your previous company for millions and then you can set up everything however you want it. But in other case, you're just starting, so things can be like scattered around and so on. But as an investor, I need to see that, hey, the team can deliver, they are motivated, they are focused, because that's very important, so you don't defocus on the way, and that they can become an actual business long term. Because it's cool if it's like a hobby project, or like, oh, it's cool, let's do some startup and so on. It's probably a lot of fun for you to be creating like a game and so etc. But in the end, somebody has to pay the bills, because else the power is cut off and you can't be developing anymore. So having that in mind, you have to show for the investors that yes, there is a way where we're going to turn it out into like a business, right? Something that can survive long term and create value. Because if you're like an investor, then you, let's say you put X, but then you expect like 10X returns, etc., right? And if it's like a, I don't know, hobby project, or like a, oh, let's make some startup, and tomorrow I woke up and the weather wasn't good. Nah, today I'm not anymore in this mood for a startup, right? So you need to see if the team has what it takes to actually deliver long term.
Yeah, so I want to highlight 10x that Stanislav mentioned. 10x.
Sure. If you go to the bank and put your, as an investor, let's say, put your savings over there, then you can probably get a couple %. If you borrow it to somebody, maybe 10, maybe 15. So if I put the money into something that is more risky than a bank, let's say, they also go bankrupt, but okay, in theory they're pretty safe, right? So as an investor, if the risk is higher, you expect that the revenue will be higher. So to achieve this, on average, let's say around 20% of returns per year, the investment should return around 4x. But the thing is, if you think about a fund or like an investor and so on, maybe I will stand up. If you think about investor or like a fund, they have to invest into 10 or 20 teams, and probably statistically 80 to 90% of them will return 0 or less than 1, meaning that they will fail. So there needs to be 1 or 2, which is going to make actually not 4x, not 10x, but maybe 30 to even more x to pay back for all of the other investment that you did, where you put in the money, but it's gone, right? So when you are making the decision about investing in a given team, what you think about is, can they get to the moment when that's going to be like 10x, 30x, maybe even 90x, right? So that's when you, before actually making this bet, because it's like when you write out the check or you wire that money, it's gone for the next 8 years or for forever, basically, right? So then you think, okay, if they got what it takes to actually make it really big. So if you are like a team of friends who are like, yeah, let's do this startup, we're gonna just make some money out of it, like, so we get by, the investment funds, they will not put the money into you, because you will be not, even in the best case scenario, you would not deliver them those multipliers so they can return their money. And because of that, they won't be interested into investing, right?
So what this means in practice, that like, if you're a group of friends, if you're making a hobby project, you're doing what you want. If you want money from Stanislav or any other ventures or, you know, angels, you're sort of making the game that the players want, because those are gonna pay you what you want versus what the players want. See the difference? So that's why being a group of friends is not bad. Being a hobby team is not bad. You're making the game that you want. This is your creative expression. But you cannot go to Stanislav for money. And that's also fine. Good. Let's move to another question. Like, why are you making this game? I sort of spoiled it a bit. I mean, you can make a game because this is your creative expression. You can make a game because you want to earn a lot of money. Or maybe you just want to break even, right? Like, if you enjoy the process of making a game, and for example, your burn rate is 3,000 euros a month, like, why not? Like, I mean, you're here in peace mode, like, it's good. Then all you need is to earn similar money back, right? And then it's good, like, you're having a good life, you're enjoying your time. That's fine, maybe. But you need to, like, to be honest about it with yourself, with your team members. Yeah, and then how are you going to fund your game? So did anybody reply publisher? Publisher? Publisher, let's do this like. So why publisher, why not investor, for example?
Because we don't need just money, we actually have the money to complete the game. We need help with stuff like marketing, biz dev, and things like that, so we could use a publisher rather than just someone who will invest and wait for a return.
Good question. You don't need money. Good answer. Okay, what about you? Why publisher, why not investor?
Well, it kind of depends on the project, of course, but for what I have in mind, most of the time is kind of a similar thing, you know, mostly alongside money, of course, you need marketing and stuff like that. And from what I know, like, I don't have a lot of experience with publishers or investors, but from what I do know, from what I've read online and talked with colleagues, usually the terms tend to be more favorable with a publisher, specifically, you know, for games, and investors are more of a, from what I know, of course, are more of a homogenized group of investors for pretty much anything, not specifically games. So, with a publisher, it kind of makes sense to me that they would be more specialized for services regarding to game publishing with marketing and all that stuff.
I will reflect on it, but one more question. Did anybody tell Kickstarter? Did anybody answer Kickstarter or like crowdfunding? Did anybody think about crowdfunding? Good. Friends, family, fools? FFF? Anybody? No. So it was publisher or investor? Bootstrapping? Right. Okay. Let's reflect on the publisher versus investor. I have a list of, for my own purposes, like Excel table. So 73 venture funds who invest only in games, only in content. So like there are games-focused investors. I found 73 who invest in Europe, but like, so there are focused funds. However, once again, publishers, they usually per game. Investors invest in your company. So when you're pitching your game, you usually talk to a publisher. When you have a vision for the company, then that's a startup. Then you go to investor, because like they invest in different things. You know, games also have shelf life. I know. If you're making a small adventure game paid for Steam, shelf life, I know, maybe a year, maybe two, maybe like then it's like back catalog, you put it on goodoldgames.com and like something like that. If you're making a game as a service, it can be 5 years or more, 8 years. So anyways, like again, it all ties in. It's like who you are and what you want to do. Are you a game studio? Are you a startup? Are you a hobby team? So the definition of success, that's also a thing. Who replied money? Okay. Who replied players? Okay, I want to talk to the money person. So why money, not players, for example?
I mean, one leads to another, and the more players you have, the more money you'll have.
Okay, somebody who didn't speak, I think you raised money, players, right? No? No? Yeah. Yeah, like, I want to talk to somebody who I haven't, like, so the players, somebody here, why players, not money? Who want to say a thing? Okay, you're shy. Why players, not money? Yeah, cool.
Because I think that games are made to be played by players, and if you don't have players in mind, then you won't have any money coming in. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. I don't have a right, I mean, this question about players and the money, it's, okay, you want to speak up, sure?
We made the interactive trash movie, FMV, and practically didn't advertise it, but it got caught by a few people who started sharing it and streaming it, and suddenly we had sales, we had fans, we have people who are saying, whatever next you do, we're gonna buy it. So that's like money, but better.
Like money, but better. I want to interact with you just a bit. You had sales. Did you have sales estimations for a game?
Back then, no, nothing like that.
Yeah, so pretty much any sold copies were good enough.
Kind of, yes.
Okay, cool. Again, I don't have right or wrong answer for you. For example, like, what's important, just to be honest. Like, I have a good friends of mine who also made like this horror interactive, like FMV styled game, shipped it on Steam, and they got 700 euros in total sales. Is it a good result or a bad result? They're happy. They had like expectations for zero. And yeah, and like one dude is working as a programmer in a bank, another dude is an architect. That's it. Like, they had fun. And they were happy about 700 euros in sales. The definition of like the failure. Right? I mean, it's the same thing. There is no right or wrong answers. It's about like what you as a team aligned on. Like, when do you dissolve? When you decide like, no, it's not going great. Like, is it when we're on a, like, when we, yeah, 700 euros in sales. Are we like, shall we close the company? For my example of this group of friends, they're happy, but for many people it's like, well, shit, it's flopped. Like, that's it, we're dead. So it's, and now the important question, when was the last time you discussed it as a team? So you're a team. Like, can I pick on you? How often do you discuss questions like that?
Probably never. I just...
That was the correct answer.
Yeah, I guess, I hope they all think about the players and that's their goal. But also for me, if I've got a programmer that's completely fixated on money and he just wants me to pay him what he wants and makes quality code, then it doesn't really matter if our opinions on this align as long as we're all happy. So I don't think we've ever discussed goals in the team for this game, I guess.
Cool. Anybody wants to share when was the last time you discussed it as a team? I mean, because these insights are good. Like, just think about it. So the usual answer is actually never. And that's the most common answer. And that's why I'm bringing this up here. It's like, you have to discuss it just because at some point in life you figure out that you're so misaligned on everything that there is nothing that keeps you together as a team. You all want different things. And then the question is like, why are you even together if you all want different things? How are you going to ship this freaking game or build this company? And who is the core? Because the core people, they should be aligned on where are you moving together. So that was the main thing. And now the fluff around it is why we see most of our teams argue. It's like, that's going to be an easy task, we're going to make it fast. What is easy, what is fast? The person who was saying it's going to be easy and fast, he was a programmer and he thought 3 weeks. The rest of the team, like, for example, artists, were like, easy, okay, like, sure, we'll do it in a week. They just like, or this mechanic is easy, or this mechanic is fun, it's like Firewatch. And the artists were like, oh, okay, so we're gonna have whatever, this blocky art style. The game designer is like, okay, so that's the exploration game with the chill vibe. And the programmer is like, oh, nice. It's like, I'll just like put the locomotion system from the store and it just works. So like everybody has different things. You reference Firewatch and all of the team has different things in mind. Same for books, same for movies. So like easy, fast, hard, complex, like these words, different people perceive them differently, and you freaking argue all the time because like you thought you're on the same page. It's gonna be easy. Shall we do it? Yes. And then apparently no. So another reason why many of our teams fight is that the silent ones. So we had like this part of the whole, like more active, this part more silent. So, and similar in many teams, like there are silent people who are just naturally silent, who need to be picked up, picked on so they speak up. So what we noticed that the silent people very often assemble or like collect the facts in their heads, and then they make a conclusion. So like everything is good, 3D artist is working, like until she is not, and she's like, I'm leaving. You're like, what the hell? Like you've been happy. She's like, no. Why didn't you tell? Why didn't you ask? And then she would complain that she's been crunching and she's been unhappy about how she's been treated. She's never been heard, and like, but you've been on all the meetings, you've been silent. And she would say, yeah, but you were so loud, I couldn't speak up. So what I'm trying to say, that you have to accommodate different people with different mindsets and with different way of talking, and double check that they're happy. And yes, many of us are loud guys just because we're passionate about what we do, but other team members may be different. So these were the key things that I wanted to talk about. Once again, the key message is like, now you have this questionnaire and I suggest you, get this homework, just go back to your team, And so those of you who filled this questionnaire online, you get this PDF with exactly same questions. So you can go online, you can print this and have this team exercise and just notice how everybody has different crosses. And you're like, okay, let's talk about it. So that's your homework. And the key message is like, you're a team, you have all to be aligned and to sort of, float, like move towards the same point. Otherwise, why are you even together? Now let's back to this like small print. So I wanted this to be more like interactive thing, and I asked my co-founder, like I gave her pretty much a Google Doc with the questions, and she's like, no. She did all these presentations, and she's like, well, you have to look good in front of people. So she put art from our teams in our incubator here. So it's an online incubator called Game Dev Camp, and these are the teams. And when I was referring to teams fighting or to these misalignments, it's the experience from our own teams, from Game Dev Camp. And and she put this thank you to herself on the slides because she was proud of her work, and also because she wanted to check that I actually checked the slides. And if I find this, I found this, but I kept it. And this concludes what I wanted to talk about, but do you have questions? Okay, then I have questions for you. What was the value that you got from this, 40 minutes of interacting with me? Let me bring this, who want to speak up? The silent ones. Anybody from the silent ones want to speak up? You want to speak up? Good, thank you. Here.
So, I'm actually a one-girl band, in a way, with my games. I mean, I don't have a team. So what I got from this was actually an idea how to approach people. Well, in what way we should make a connection and what to talk about if we are making a project together, regardless if it's my idea or theirs or something that we came up together during brainstorm session. But this was actually a nice kind of view into what are like some of the things when people work together on a specific project, what things can come up as an issue, or maybe even like what can come up as an inspiration in a way.
So I learned that you said that the money is not may or may not be an inspiration. You want to speak up? Yeah, do it.
I mean, I have a lot of experience in the industry, so I know what you're talking about, but it's actually worth saying again and again and again, because all these new people are coming to the gaming industry all the time, and it's not really like working in some other company or IT or software company. It's not the same working in gaming and just producing some web pages and in an agency, and it's always worth talking about and highlighting, because people really don't know how hard it is to have vision aligned for some kind of product, for a startup, for a video game, and they need to be very careful with hiring and leading people.
Thank you. Anybody else? Cole?
We started with this over a decade ago, and this is a good talk. We made all of those mistakes, including the Kickstarter. Back then, when I remember who else was at the Kickstarter, who else was at the conferences, a few of them blew up and have pretty big companies. Most of them gave up. So these are some really good lessons.
Cool, thank you. I want to reflect a bit on, I didn't tell, indeed, as you pointed out, I didn't tell anything new. And these are like the basics, and many of you were listening, it's like, dude, come on, we know this. Yes, you all know this, but do you follow? And the answer is like, yes, you do know, but you don't follow. So I'm here like Captain Obvious, you know, jumping in front of you, telling like, this is the obvious stuff. You're like, we know this. Yes, but you don't follow. When we onboard new teams to game dev camp, we tell them this at the start of the camp. And they're like, this is obvious. At the end of the camp, they're like, we did all these mistakes. The camp is 4 months. They're given this manual, this is what you do, this is how you communicate, this is how you do project. They still do these mistakes. So, we're people, that's what we do, but we should try harder, and then we'll be more successful. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you. I guess it's your turn.
I think we have a break right now, if I'm correct. Tomislav? Guys? Yeah? Okay, just gonna turn it off. Okay. Whoa! Breaking stuff already. That's cool.
Let's see if it works.
Okay, let's. Oh, works. Cool. Cool. Hello, guys. So first of all, my name is Stanisław Fidor, and around 2010, but officially at around the end of 2012, I started a game development studio called Fuero Games back in Warsaw, Poland. To give you a little bit of like background, when I was starting everything, around 2010, I was still at the Warsaw School of Economics as a student. So after hours, I was developing some interactive content in a Flash and so on. I did not have like rich parents. I was having a loan to, you know, pay for the rent in Warsaw and everything like that. So I was basically starting from scratch, from totally nothing. So it's more about telling you that where you are, you can achieve anything you want. It's the only hurdle which is in front of you is you yourself who might be limiting yourself, right? Because very often we are like, that's maybe not too cool, that's, I can't do this, I'm worried, whatever, and so on. Forget about it. Like, just aim for the stars if you wanna, because those things are possible. And today, I would like to share with you a topic which very often people, when starting game development companies, they don't think about it. Because very often it's like, shit, when I was a kid, I liked to play those kind of games. And now I would like to build this game. But the thing is, you're forgetting about that this is like long term, it's gonna be a business. You're gonna have bills to pay. So in such case, you will have to get like the money to actually pay for the bills. Now, how you gonna get it, like what you gonna do, what's gonna be your plan, and so on. It's important to be also thinking about that part, because as Ole showed it in the previous presentation, you have to actually align on your goals, on your vision. You need to know where are you aiming for, because if you're not aiming anywhere, then each day you will wake up and you walk into a different direction. And sometimes it can be the opposite direction than the one that you want to get to. Now, I also going to tell you a little bit about the Polish game industry, because I think this was quite like a miracle, basically. Because keep in mind, Poland was after like the communist times. It wasn't a very well-developed country back then, and so on and so on. And currently, video games industry is one of the better known, or let's say the export product for the Polish country around all of the world, right? If I would ask you like, okay, who does know The Witcher? Okay, one person. Not bad, not bad. So that's the whole thing. So also a little bit about Fuero Games itself. So I was starting it pretty much like working after hours after my lectures at the university, and then started to build up pretty much by doing some bootstrapping, developing some projects for external customers and so on to gather some money. Then I was lucky to apply and get like a first grant. Back then it was, I think, like 5,000 euro. So basically buying some laptop and some software to be actually making stuff. But even though I was starting basically from scratch, we had quite some achievements along the journey. So as you can see on the screen, basically, for example, in year 2014, so basically the company started like back in 2012, 2014, we were featured by Apple during their iPhone 6 keynote conference. So this one conference that happens once per year. Back then we were maybe like 12 people in a flat somewhere in Warsaw. And basically the second biggest company in the world featured us during their yearly biggest conference. That was crazy, because when I was starting, I would not be thinking that that's gonna happen. So it's more about to give you like this idea, put this little seed in your head. There are no limitations. You can basically achieve whatever you wanna, but you will have to work on it, and you will need to be committed and focused to that. We got also some awards from Huawei in Beijing 2018. We were selected by Google for the residency program, and the studio got quite some awards during its lifetime. To give you some kind of scale, I think around end of 2022, the yearly revenues were exceeding like 20 million euro. Now, you are very lucky actually. Why? Because A, game development industry is pretty fun, right? I assume most of you are developing games because you guys love it or you like it. But at the same time, it's a huge business. Keep in mind, if I would ask you, I was supposed not to be showing you the slide before asking that question, but I fucked up. So, if I would ask you what is bigger, is it movies? So you go to the cinema, Hollywood, blockbusters, everybody is talking about in the news and so on. Or is it music? You listen to music almost all of the time, radios, car, at home, and so on. And then games. And who of you would guess that actually games is the biggest market? It's actually bigger than all of the rest combined together. Isn't it crazy? So, when I was actually starting, I had no idea of that, to be honest. So, that's the thing. It is also a huge, huge business. And if you work hard and you focus, then you can also make a living out of that. And you probably will be one of the most happy people in the world, right? Because you're going to be doing what you're loving, and then you can pay the bills and live off from that. Now, the Polish game dev industry right now, that's the data for 2023, it grew a lot. Back then when I was starting, I assume it was maybe a couple thousand people, maybe even less than 1,000 people around the industry. But we were also like fortunate to have like big companies which made some big hits like CD Projekt or Techland, which actually also created many people who got the experience, who were skilled, and then could start their new games, new projects, and so on. But that's also a good message for you guys over here in Croatia, that you can create a whole industry. You can change basically your whole country and how it's being seen on the international arena. And this is possible, but it's you who has to, you know, make the change, right? You need this big IP, this success over here and so on. Maybe it's going to be one of your games, right? This can be the case. Now, going back into the journey, it's never as easy, as beautiful, as simple as you read it in the papers, as it's seen on the great overnight success. Just like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, I had a call with the co-founder of Keen Games. So this year they had like the Enshrouded game launch. I think they made like 3 million copies sold in the early access within like 2 or 3 weeks. So amazing success. And you would think like, oh shit, like, so it's like an overnight success. Actually, the guy's been on the developing games, I think, longer than my studio, actually. And they've been through many other projects. And this one came to life after the learnings from the previous ones. So it might not be an easy journey. And having in mind that, you have to have those elements for the journey, right? You have to have the hearts, because without the lives, you can quickly die, right? So you have to have this internal passion, this internal drive to wake up every day and do this effort to actually deliver. My studio, I think at least 2 or maybe 3 times during those all years, there were moments where I couldn't pay my guys for a month or 2 months, basically. Because even though you assume the projects will take X time and epsilon amount of resources, it very often something happens, something changes, you need to spend more money and so on. And if there wouldn't be this passion among us, then they would basically go away, say like, shit, I'm done with it, I'm not doing this. But because of the other thing, so like this kind of shield, so this determination, if there are hard times, but you have this determination, you can shield yourself. So fortunately, I was able to, every time, find out some way out of it, either to closing some deals, or getting some investments, or some grants, and so on and so on. But keep in mind, it's going to be a tough journey. It's like a hardcore game, basically, right? So the other part is, it is going to be hard work. So you will need to be grinding to get to the top level, right? There's going to be many dungeons, a lot of obstacles on the way, and you have to open a lot of chests, but you never know what's going to come out of that. So brace yourself, because it won't be easy. And the more you are prepared for that, the more, I don't know, you work on like smaller things to get ready for the big thing, the more you learn, right? Because basically, what all I did for you, it's like a free less than 1 hour MBA in gaming startups, pretty much, right? So, and they are also creating this game dev camp, so you can apply and maybe be part of that to gather like the experience, etc. And you have to be prepared, because if you just start and like, oh, I'm gonna go make a game, right? That might not work long term, because you might lose the motivation, there will be hard things coming to you, and you will just give up, like, come on, this boss is too hard, like, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm gonna switch to another game, right? So that's the whole thing. You need to have to be prepared to have like many of those lives, have a good shield, and like the best word possible to get through all of those levels and challenges that will be there. But the thing is, even though you are pretty well prepared, you won't be able to play the game unless you insert that coin, right? Because each of us needs to eat, they might have families, and so on and so on. So you have to secure the possibility of actually be playing this game, right? And you have to have those coins just in case you are very close to finish that level. But you need this one more coin to actually make it to till the end of the game and win it. So how can you do that? Fortunately, there are many ways and opportunities which you can take advantage of. Starting from bootstrapping, finding friends, family, or fools sometimes, looking for grants, applying, finding some publishers, going through incubators or accelerators, or raising money from VC. But each of this, it's a different, let's say, game. You have to prepare differently, and you can gain from it different stuff. So let's go through those different types. Bootstrapping, like sometimes it's awesome. You are the king. You rule everything. And everything, but on the other hand, you have the whole responsibility for everything. So basically, you have the full control, you decide what's going on. But at the same time, if something goes wrong, it's also totally you. So, not easy, but sometimes it makes sense. If you are able to work for some potential client, generate enough margin, enough profit to have the money to develop your own stuff, that's great. But on the other hand, I've been there myself. So if you have a customer, a client, and you have your own project, then what is more important? The money, which is coming from the customer, right? Because it's financing what you're doing. So if there is a problem, then you will refocus on the customer's project. Now, sometimes you can get into this vicious circle where, okay, I need one more client, but then there is some hurdles in the project, so the profitability of it is lower than expected, so I need to do another project, and oh, my game? I don't have time for that because we grew, the team is bigger, but we are still like this hamster in this wheel and running, but still not moving forward, right? So there is some risk connected with that as well. So keep that in mind, that you have to have like those goals, to have those exact plan, to actually move out from at one moment from that space and focus fully on your own stuff. But you have to be prepared for that. Then, if you want to lose some friends, another good option is also to get some money from them. Because sometimes it can be the case that, hey, somebody, I don't know, bought some Bitcoin back in the time, is well off right now, and they actually love games, they like you, they know you, so they're like, hey man, I'm looking for some option to invest money and so on. Like, do you know something cool? And you tell them a story about your amazing game, how it's gonna attract so many players and how cool it's gonna be, and he's like, man, I like this kind of games. Okay, like, I can give you like, I don't know, 10K, 20K, 50K, whatever, right? So you can gather like a couple of those people and have those early, let's say, angel investors, etc. So this, let's say, kick off money to advance to the next level. Because if you want to go to a publisher, you come over and say like, hey guys, I have this idea, I wrote this on this piece of paper, and I want to have 1 million euro for the development of that. Cool? Yes? I assume each of the publishers would throw the money at you, right? Not. It's more about you have to showcase them at least like a playable, at least like an MVP, and so on. So you need to get to that point. But if you would go to a VC and say like, hey guys, I need the money to develop the MVP, and maybe it's going to work, maybe it's going to fail, but yeah, let's see. They would say like, you know what? Once you get the MVP done, once you have the publisher, sure, we're going to give you not even like this 100K, we're going to give you 1 million, because then the risk for them will be much lower, right? They will know that actually, okay, it's getting there. The risk is getting lower, so we can put in the money even a little bit at a little bit higher valuation, but it's okay for us because if we have in mind the lower risk, still the potential outcome for that for them is much better. So the cool thing about friends, family, and some crazy people is that they usually have the money on their account or can quickly decide and tell you, okay, I like it, I know you, I know where you live, so if you don't deliver, I will find you. So it's easier for them to actually make the decision and wire you the money, right? Of course, you need still to have like the agreement, etc., but they won't be doing like the due diligence probably very through. They won't be asking you to create like a million, like a data room with all of the documents about your company till the beginning of when it was established and so on. So it should be faster. But of course, like the amount of money they can put into risk by themselves is way much lower than it would be like with some VCs, etc. Now, with that in mind, they need to get something in return, right? Because if they put like if they invest into you, then at some moment they also need to get the money back, right? So they will need to receive some equity, and that means like some part in your company. Because very often you can start as a freelancer, as somebody who just makes it, not even being a company, not even having like an entity, right? But at that moment, you will need to be at least like a limited company so somebody can get the shares in it, right? So you can't be anymore like this sole entrepreneur, but you have to have like a company, right? So that's the stage. If you're gonna be taking money from the friends and so on, you already need to have like this mindset of that's not some hobby project, that's not like some fun and so on. That's actually is going to be a business, right? So we need to have the business plan, we need to have the forecast of our costs or our expenditures, and also like the revenues and the profits, right? Because else the money is going to be quickly gone, your friends too, and hopefully not your liver. Or kidneys, probably more kidneys, I guess. Now, the other aspect is like, usually those friends, they will have millions of ideas how to make your game better, but they have no experience, they have no know-how or anything. So keep in mind it's better probably to have somebody who's gonna just put the money for you and say like, see you in 7 years, than somebody who's going to be like, oh man, I love this kind of game, I will help you with that, right? Because sometimes it can deroute you from the actual path and defocus you from where are you going. Unless they are actually coming from the industry, have a lot of know-how and can add value. That's amazing. Everybody would love to have like this kind of angels or investors, because then they bring the so-called smart money. So not just the money itself, because as I said, money, oh man, with the inflation and everything, it's going to be gone pretty quickly. But if there is additional smart value to that, which is like connections, which is know-how, that can be very valuable. Because sometimes even if they bring just, I don't know, 10K to the table, they might know like another investor, they might know another VC, etc. They can connect you, and you're going to gain way much more. But keep in mind, some people are also crazy sometimes, and you don't want to really have this kind of, you know, investors into your so-called cap table, so among the shareholders, right? Because then, oh man, that's going to be a long decade. Now, another option to help you to get to the dream and to level up is to be writing a lot of papers and going through bureaucracy. So that's, not everybody maybe likes it, but today you guys got like ChatGPT, so come on, anybody can write a grant application today because it's, come on, like 80% of the job can be done by anybody. I mean, but by our uncle GPT, right? And the other part is that there are also like special advisors who can write those, and they will probably just take some success fee from you. So you will not need to pay the money up front. Unless you get the grant, then you will just pay them for receiving the money. Very often in grants you also need to have your own participation of the funds. So sometimes it's good to be already having some, I don't know, angels or maybe VC lined up in case you're going to get the grant to actually be able to finance that part of the grant where you need to put in the money from your own pocket, right? Because it's not good if you're going to get the grant and it turns out, oh shit, I actually don't have the money for my own participation, so I wasted time, and I will have to say like, okay, I won't be using those money. And because you're blocking it for somebody else who might have needed it more than you. So, yes, papers, like yearly reports and so on. Prepare for that if you go for grants, but it's an option for you, yes. And I see Pismo is pretty good with you know, getting grants and making those things happen. So I guess like Tomisław is the go-to person who can help you out or refer you to somebody who can definitely help you out of that. And there are many programs. For example, like also the Creative Europe Media. I think this one program is one of the better who actually know what it is about, right? Because there you need to write an actual story for the game and so on. There are many projects which are just evaluated by, okay, do you go through the criteria and so on, and they're not really fully aware if your game has the potential and not, right? So it's might be sometimes complicated. But another option is that back then, I think it was around year 2013 or something like that, there was no like this kind of support within Poland for the gaming industry. There were some programs for other industries, like I think medicine and so on, but not for gaming. And I had this idea like, it would be cool if there would be one. So what I started to do is I connected CD Projekt, because back in the 2013-2015, Fuero Games was developing together with CD Projekt The Witcher Battle Arena. So like a mobile game, a mobile MOBA set within the Witcher universe. And as we had the cooperation, I felt like, hey, let's talk with the big guys and let's introduce them to the, you know, the governmental agencies, and let's sit down together and discuss this opportunity for the Polish game industry to support it for the companies, so we can work on something innovative, right? Because very often, almost each game is an R&D, right? Because nobody else did the story you did, or the gameplay mechanics might be different. And R&D is pretty risky, right? So it makes sense if the government, the state supports those kind of activities. And you know what? After probably like 2 years or 3 years of bureaucracy, hiring like PricewaterhouseCoopers, so they prepare the idea for the support program and so on, it happened. And till today, I think the program handed over probably a couple €100 million to the game developer studios in Poland. So it's you who can make the change, right? If you are determined, if you want to make something happen, you can reach out to the right people, connect the dots. Very often it's like, sometimes it's like puzzles. They are all spread around. It's just about fitting the right puzzles all together, and then something will work out of it. Or like those, like follow points or draw the lines point by point. You need to connect them, and then an image will turn out. So don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to take the initiative, because you can change not only your future, but the whole future maybe for the industry of your country. Publishers. So there are already some of you who are looking for them. And what is the cool thing about publishers? They usually don't take your equity. So if you have shares within the company, they don't want to shares within your company. So they're investing more into like a single project, as Ole mentioned it. It's a little bit of the difference between the publishers and the investors / VCs. VCs, investors, they get like an equity, so they are more interested into the business, right? Because long term, there needs to be the return. For publishers, it's like that particular game, we believe in it, we think it's going to make it, so we can support you, we can finance it, we can help you with the marketing and so on. So the cool thing over here is the previous steps did not get you help with, let's say, commercialization or like the industry know-how and experience. You might be amazing at developing the games, but you might be lacking the commercialization or like making a business out of that, the sales and so on. And that's when where they can happen, where they can help you, which is good, because then their chance of succeeding becomes much, much bigger. And as mentioned, you already need to have something. You need to be able to showcase them. They want to play the thing. They want to see if there is the fun factor in that, if there is something innovative, if there is something sticky, that if they like it, that the consumers, the players, also gonna feel the same. So that's the thing. So you already need to do quite some steps to actually get to their level, unless you have worked in like huge studios, I don't know, Activision Blizzard, CD Projekt, or whatever else for years, and you just say like, come on, I know everything, I know how to do this, I will deliver, this is my idea, it's something innovative, this is my account number, right? At that moment, probably it's going to be, that's a good chance you can get it like without almost showcasing anything except for like a game design document and so on. But all on the other cases, you will have to actually showcase not only a trailer, because trailer it's easy to do, but then to actually make the trailer into like a playable experience is much harder. So you will have to put the game into the hands of the potential, like the business development people of the publisher, and they need to like it, and the other people from their team as well. So they actually write you the check, which of course is not like one instance, it's more like milestone based and so on and so on. Now, there is, of course, some points which are on the minus end, because sometimes they want to have some part in the IP. IP is the intellectual property behind your game. So it might mean that if you're going to be launching your game, the sequel to it, you have to do it with them, and so on and so on. But if it worked well with the first one, maybe it's going to make sense. So it's important to actually be able to negotiate the agreement well, so it's favorable for you in the long term. And on the other hand, of course, there's going to be like revenue share, because if they aren't paying like the money for the development, then they might ask you for recouping of that money, those costs that they put into the development upfront. So it's going to be first couple months where you might see zero revenue coming out of the game because they first need to pay it back, right? and then you will be sharing the revenues. There are some examples of like publishers on the bottom of the slide. Now, another option is if you're maybe even at a little bit earlier stage, you're less experienced, and maybe you don't know how to do all of the things the right way. That's not a biggie. Like everybody, when I was when I was myself starting to be developing the first game that we did, like a work for hire for one of the customers, it was like a multiplayer 3D with animations, kind of like a Second Life in the web browser, right? Something like this. Now, back then, we had no experience with 3D, animations, and multiplayer. So we decided to make it, right? Why? Because within like a week, my CTO was able to create a proof of concept on it, showcasing like, okay, so we will be able to make it happen, right? So, but that was, of course, trial and error. Me, myself, probably around 2017 or 18, was it when we were chosen as the company by Google for the